After Amazon, it's now Google. The tech layoffs are continuing into the 2024 as well. Google seems to have laid off several executives from Fitbit as well, something they have been steadily winding down, for the lack of a better word. After 27,000 layoffs in 2023, Amazon is getting ready to lay off few more hundreds, according to a recent communication. Around 500 is what they have said. Back home, Paytm's parent company, 197 Communication, has terminated over 1,000 employees across departments in recent months. This accounts for over 10% of Paytm's total staff strength, marking one of the most significant job cuts by an Indian tech company this year. Flipkart could possibly lay off around 1,100 to 1,500 employees. Leading Indian e-commerce player Flipkart is contemplating laying off around 5 to 7% of its workforce. This would conclude the company's year-long hiring freeze. But today we are trying to understand what is driving this wave of layoffs. Experts suggest fear of economic slump or uncertainty. The pandemic boom, since the demand for tech and digital services seemed to have skyrocketed during the COVID-19 lockdowns. But there's so much more to this, and we'll try and get through most of it. But I'm right now being joined by Ajay. Now, Ajay is somebody who lost his job last year. And you may think last year is just about last year. But Ajay will tell us his story. Ajay, thank you for joining us, Ajay. Tell us, where are you from and what are you doing right now?
Hello, Sneha. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ajay. Yes, I can hear you, Ajay. Tell us, where are you right now? Where are you from? Where are you working? And what are you doing right now?
Currently, I am a job seeker. Right now, I am at my home. I'm looking through all the possibilities to get into a job. Last year, I was laid off from an MNC, one of a big company in Trivandrum Technopark. I lost my job almost in an hour. You can say in an hour. I got off my job. Then I was on the next day. I was sitting inside my home, looking for the next job. Almost all techies are really facing this issue now because the emerging development in the field of artificial intelligence. Many jobs, but before that, the what happened to me is different. I was like facing a recession that was going through on the company. It was like on a day.
I think we are having some disruptions.
Project now. Then I said, no, I am not working. I am sitting in bench side and looking for the job about 2 or 3 months. Then they are saying that, Ajay, you got either two choices. Ajay, you got two choices. Either you put a resignation letter to my email, or we'll chart and investigate. We'll prepare a chart and investigate against you, stating that we have an allegation against you. You have turned down a job in service desk. Like they were offering me a job on service desk, and I was turned down that because I was looking into the engineering software engineering side. So they were pointing at that allegation, and
I can't thank you enough for joining us. It takes a lot of courage in today's times to be able to coming and speaking all these things. It takes courage and it takes confidence to come on TV like this and say it. But tell me something, Ajay, when they told you something like this and when you were forced to leave the company, that is literally how it sounds right now. Were you the only one, or did you hear and see of other people also in the company going through the same process?
I came across two to three people that I have known personally. But apart from that, I have heard from my colleagues that many employees in our company have been gone through this process and they were laid off. Those were getting high paid salaries, about more than 15 lakhs or 20 lakhs per annum from the company, because there were no upcoming projects inside the company. So they are financially unstable. So they were forced to leave off the company. It was like going through 3 p.m. You get a call, 4 p.m. you are were out of the company, and on the 5 p.m. your all accounts, including email, Teams application, everything is blocked, and you are vanished away from the system itself.
Did you get any compensation, Ajay? Did they offer you any compensation?
Actually, they were actually it is a policy that you should give at least 2 months notice period for every employee that was leaving the company, and you should get a compensation for that 2 months notice period salary. But I have got nothing. I was just fired. You can say I was fired in a 1 hour. But the two another two employee I have known, they got 1 month notice period, and they got that 1 month salary as a compensation. But I got nothing.
All right. Ajay, my last question to you. Have you been able to get another job in the last few months that you've had to leave that company?
No, I have not able to get another job because I joined there as a fresher. Usually they should give 3 months training on any dedicated platforms like Java or Python or any software languages. But they put a few people directly appointed to a project. Working under that 1 year project, which was not usually not get much benefit from that project. Then I was moved after finishing that project. I was moved to the bench, or you can say talent pool. The
Right.
many employees were piled
Right.
on that bench pool over the
All
world.
right.
You can say
Ajay,
were piling
Ajay,
up.
thank you very much. There seems to be some signal issues. Ajay, thank you very much for joining us, for sharing your experience. We wish you the very best, and we wish you the new year will bring you good news and you will get your job really soon. Thank you very much, Ajay, for joining us. Now, Ajay is somebody who has been willing to come and speak to us after we have reached out to several others. Not everybody has the courage and the guts to come and speak about this in open, though frankly, it's a no big deal. In today's times, layoffs are as normal as getting jobs. Only problem being, is it happening the right way? Are the companies doing it the right way? And are we going about giving jobs the right way? All of these and so many aspects to discuss about this. I'm right now being joined by Kamal Karanth, who is a co-founder for Xfino, executive search. Also, Manish Maheshwari, the co-founder for Fenry.ai. Vidit Bhatia was a senior engineering manager with Adobe, as well as Tushar Gupta, who is a policy expert. Thank you very much, all four of you, for joining us. Well, first to you, Mr. Manish Maheshwari. You just heard the young gentleman speak about his experience. You have been working after your Twitter experiences. You've led startups as well. Is this something that people must be worried about in the tech field as of today?
So I listen to the gentleman. I think what is happening right now is the year of efficiency, which started last year, continues. And clearly, companies are paying a lot more attention to their bottom line as compared to what they used to do 2 years earlier. And the reason for that is capital is still expensive. The interest rate is in the US is still very high. And even though people believe that this is the last leg of the increase, and I think people are expecting a cut, the cut has not happened. So capital is very expensive. As a result, investors are pushing companies to be profitable and how to be more judicious with their capital. And ultimately, that is reflected in the sense that in the way companies are managing their P&L and are becoming more careful about their bottom line. So that's one part. Second part is technology companies inherently are very fast-moving companies, and a lot of advancements are taking place. So roles become redundant very quickly. And I think, as you know, AI is really transformational. Everyone's realizing that people can do a lot more than they were capable of doing because now they are assisted by AI. So many of the jobs which were being done by a lot of people can be done much more efficiently with a fewer people. So people who are leveraging AI, those companies, you see that there is a lot more efficiency gain there, and people who know how to leverage AI are getting better job prospect as compared to people who have not taken on to these skills. So that's also reflective of the
Right.
the marketplace right now. So there are quite a few trends of this kind. One is, of course, expensive capital and the focus on bottom line. That's number one. And number two is, of course, change in the requirements and skill sets. And people who are having hot skills around,
Okay.
say, data science or machine learning or AI, they are clearly in demand. I mean, if at this point in time, those skills are pretty much needed. So talent which is able to upskill themselves
Right.
or able to sort of
Okay.
go for those skill sets are in a much better position to get a much better job and also to retain their job as
Okay.
compared to people who have not taken
Manish,
that
let me just get
shift
in
in their skill.
other people also with their introductory remarks. Thank you for those important points. But if you look at what's happening in the US, more than 2 lakh tech workers have been laid off. We're talking somewhere about late 2022 and January 23. Between all of this, and according to Bloomberg, around 30% or 40% were Indian IT professionals, and around 80,000 Indian IT professionals on H-1B and L-1 visas have faced job losses in the US. Before I go over to Vidit, who's somebody who's also, his colleagues have experienced something like this possibly, but Kamal Karanth, what are the layers to these cutoffs? Because one, if you are able to upskill yourself and you are able to keep up with the times and are financially sound, you may be able to get other alternative jobs, but not everybody is financially sound when you're particularly in the start of your career. What kind of pattern are you really seeing since you deal with so many Indian firms?
Yeah, I think if you look at the overall market, the white collar market has shrunk by almost 25% in 2023. And that's a lot, right? And if you look at the number of engineers who are getting produced in India, 9 lakh engineers pass out every year from colleges. And in the best of the years in the past, almost 2 lakh engineers getting jobs. The only year where about 6 lakh engineers got absorbed was 2021. That was the highest, right? So if you look at the market getting shrunk at any given time, and you look at the results even today of the 2 large IT majors which has come out, clearly we are seeing that companies are under pressure to reduce what they think as not required headcount, and mostly many of them are bottom of the pyramid. The entry level people who are not billable and maybe who have not got skilled enough. If you look at 14% attrition still raging in the IT companies, India means they are losing people to somebody else, and 80% of those roles are getting actually still filled up. So it is nothing to do with the affordability of whether people have money can upskill more. You really don't need to spend a lot of money to upskill yourself today in the world of internet. So it is just about the skill friction. The skills you have, are they matching with the right kind of opportunities are out there and in the right locations? Remember that it's no longer a remote world. Companies are asking you to come back. So I think there are much at play than just your affordability levels of one can you upskill yourself
Right.
at all or not.
All right.
And clearly the white collar market
Okay.
shrinking in has created that. And most important thing that you need to look at is that if you look at the layer of hiring that has really shrunk this year has been IT services companies, which employ almost 2.2 million people, and the product companies, famously we call them as FANG, which is your Facebook, Amazon, Apple,
Okay.
Microsoft, Netflix kind of companies who have actually not really hired in
All
India.
right. Let me just get
90%
in
of
with
the
it at this
have
point.
come down.
Mr.
Sure.
Manish, let me just get in with it at this point. With it, what has been your experience? You were working in US before you moved into India, is what I'm hearing. You say, I mean, I've heard that many of your colleagues have gone through a phase where they had to be laid off, but they seem to have swum back into the sector. Tell us what you have experienced and your colleagues have experienced.
Yeah, I would start with saying that layoffs, no matter in India or US, are always bad. But people in US take a lot of heat. They are on H-1B visa, which is tied to their companies, right? And once they are laid off, they have a very small window of 2 to 3 months where they need to find a new job, right? Which is really depressing in the current market situation where there is hiring freeze in almost all the MNCs, which are ready to sponsor H-1B visas and green card, right? So they get into a very bad state where they have bought houses, they have kids there who are American citizens, and it's very difficult for them to make a move back. So most of my friends, they did not move back. It was difficult for them to get absorbed in other companies. So some of them decided to go on for higher studies. They have a kind of enrolled for MBA, MS in other colleges, and then just waiting for them for this wave to go away so that they can find a new role, right? Some other people have taken cuts and in their pay, and then have joined some other companies with a lower role so that they can continue having an H-1B sponsorship. So it has been a really bad time. I haven't heard many people have moved back, but yeah, it has been really depressing year last year for most of the people.
But are you sensing that this is just a last year phenomena? Because what I'm hearing is, at least even my friends and others that we are picking up from, they are perhaps looking at a difficult few months ahead in the Silicon Valley.
Yeah, definitely, right. The macroeconomic conditions that the companies were looking at, right? Like, so Amazon was expecting people to continue shopping online. AWS was seeing a rise, right? And then Facebook was consistently investing in Meta, which would be a online platform where people can, be on calls and communicate better. But what we saw was as soon as the world opened back after Corona, right, people started going back to the normal life, and that boom was not seen. There was a graph that I was looking at some other day where they were showing that how Microsoft has kind of overhired about 20% as compared to the trend that was in the last couple of years, and they ended up firing 15% of the workforce, right? And so I think that's the reason why we are seeing such things, and I think we could have
Let me just get in Tushar Gupta. Vidit, you're making very important points. Let me just get in Tushar Gupta. Tushar, just with what Ajay said, what Vidit is saying, the repercussions are being borne by a section of the skilled Indian employable youth, if I may say, but even at several other hierarchies. But is it just bad recruitment economics that's playing out horribly wrong right now?
Good evening, Sneha. Look, when the pandemic began, everyone thought that this because of these big FANG companies would tank. But the pandemic was to put it in large way, it was a blessing to these companies. They stock prices way. We thought that the party would go on as Rupi rightly pointed out. And the hiring was completed. Eventually, the market correction had to happen, the market conditions had to change, and that is what is happening. Simultaneously, we are seeing some very significant developments in artificial intelligence. Now, in the last decade, this transition from a sort of a degree economy to a skilled economy. Earlier, your degrees could be talking to you, now it's all about the skill. So I think going forward, even with tough macroeconomic conditions, even with the market correcting itself, even with the companies coming to terms with new realities across the globe, people who are skilled enough would not have that much trouble landing up a job. Of course, the dynamics of the payments and wages may change, but I don't think skilled labor, especially in the tech industry, has anything to worry about. But yes, everyone needs to pull up their stocks.
I
They need to
think,
skill themselves.
Tushar,
Are going to
your
be
audio line is really poor, and we're trying to understand what you're saying, but it's really poor. My guest team will try and get this right. We'll try and get the line right with your audio, but let me just come back to you, Kamal Karant, with what you're seeing around. It's inevitable that the layoff situations are going to only get worse. What should people be doing to prepare themselves?
Clearly, they need to be networking well. In my view, we talk a lot about upskilling, but it's not just that, they have the right skills. are they also knocking on the right doors? I think today we do not have transparency around how the organizations are recruiting, and there isn't an open platform for us to understand where exactly the openings are. And most of us end up applying to the same large companies who have not been recruiting, the big product companies, or maybe the IT services companies. So if you look at the 6 tech cohorts that actually India represents, the largest number of recruitments that are currently happening in the tech sector are with the non-tech companies. The banks in India, the pharmaceutical companies in India, they may not be recruiting in the same numbers as IT services, but these are the ones who are really recruiting a lot number of tech companies. So the best way I would urge to any job seeker is, one, build your network, talk to your alumni, talk to your seniors in college, especially people who are just making their way up in from colleges. That's the only way you get to know where the jobs are. Of course, there are portals which actually are publishing in them, but the numbers are really not speaking for themselves. There aren't that many open jobs at this point of time. It's the lowest in the last 2 years. So if I am advising a job seeker, I would say talk to your college seniors, talk to your network, and that's where your best jobs are likely to emerge from. Yes, you have to skill.
Right.
An imperative for if you are in the tech field, and that's going to be there forever.
All right, Mr. Kamal, interesting that you made you made the deciphering of the sectors. I must mention media is also a sector that is seeing quite a bit of downsizing and layoffs. But moving on, Manish, if you could add to this, one thing that's very important to be broken down, this whole shroud of silence around layoffs. It is so important that people should not be ashamed of being laid off. It's not a bad thing to have happened. It doesn't show what your work profile has been, what your history has been. Laying off is not bad. Am I right? Is this message deep in Indian psyche at least?
Good point you brought up. I think, particularly in India, I noticed that people see that as a stigma and they feel bad about it. But if you look at it, more and more in most professional companies, it is seen more as a realignment of workforce and also a question about fitment, in the sense that if a company feels that the direction the company is taking doesn't fit well with the skill sets a person has, they would rather encourage those people to go seek a better future elsewhere, because those people might have a better career and better growth in some other companies and industry, right? So it should be seen more of that versus a pure reflection of your own capabilities and potential. That's number one. Number two is that, yeah, I mean, you can be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So clearly, feeling bad about it and sort of feeling depressed about it doesn't help. What helps is to understand as to what is the market looking for, what skill sets are valuable. And as one of our esteemed panelists mentioned, you have to know who to then reach out to, who would really appreciate and value the skill set you carry, right? And a very good example he gave is that if you're a tech person, it is not necessary that you only have to apply to tech companies. In fact, there's a lot more demand for tech people in traditional companies, which are now trying to digitize, right? I mean, you talked about media, there's also pharma companies, banking companies, almost everyone is trying to digitize, and technology and digital is going to be a big thing. So clearly one has to build a strategy around, okay, what's my skill set? What am I good at? What industries would value me? And where can I have the best fit for my capabilities and potential? And I think if one does a very thoughtful analysis, not only you will find what is right for you, you will also feel happy with what you land with. And I think you would also feel that you will have much more satisfaction and also a better career growth in those trajectories.
Right, I believe I'm being joined right now by Tushar Gupta again. Tushar, there's also this whole AI phenomenon, if I may say, so there's this Inmobi group who's gone ahead and said that they will be laying off because they are going to be adopting to the artificial intelligence. Now, this is also becoming a paradigm shift, it's wrong to say that technology would displace people. Technology may bring in a different kind of requirement, but it doesn't displace people. Is it a bad recruitment really that displaces people?
It's been a decade since I finished my graduation in computer science engineering. And we've been hearing since then that AI is going to take away a chunk of the jobs. And it has. It has not taken away the jobs, it has changed the nature of the jobs. So, upskilling is very, very important. You have to evolve with the times. When it comes to the industries today, be it any industry, be it tech, logistics, supply chains, anything, you have to evolve with the times. So, I do not see the growth of AI as something that takes away jobs. It just changes the nature of the jobs. Now, talking of the bad recruitment economics, look, there was a swell during the pandemic for all the tech companies. The stock prices were at an all time high. The hiring looked good. The payouts looked really good. But post 2021, even if you look at the numbers in 23, beginning 22, second half, the recruitments have fallen, but the outlays have been far more. Far more people have been asked to leave. And that is just the market correcting itself. The spoils of the pandemic, the inflated market or the stock prices of the pandemic, they are correcting themselves. And I think that's sending the company in somewhat of a jitter. So you're absolutely right. It's bad economics, but it's also an opportunity for the ones who are at the receiving it, though how difficult it might be. They have to sort of evolve with this change. They have to upskill themselves, network around, look for the right opportunities, and just accept that this is not going to be the last time something like this happens. Tech industry keeps changing all the time. There are cycles of boom and bust, and this is just one of those hard times.
Right. Just the last question before we give it a wrap. We are totally out of time. And maybe, Mr. Karanth, if you could just come in and tell us, when a period like this, when you go through layoffs, is it gender equitable? Uh, you know, is the burden of layoffs more on one gender, or is it gender equitable?
I think it's gender equitable. I think we've reached a
You're
stage
smiling.
in the work world today where we are not laying off people based on gender. That much I can tell you. The industry has really grown up, and the only time we felt, I think, a gender was a little, and I think victimized wasn't the companies asked everybody to come to office. I think that did put people in disadvantage. But I think when it comes to layoffs, I'm yet to hear that any particular gender is being singled out.
I wish I had more time to dig deep on this, but I leave that for another day. Perhaps the number of women in boardrooms could be a starting point. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. And I do hope next time we would have at least one woman as a panelist. I guess we need to start in-house first. Thank you very much, all four of you, for joining us. Well, it's time for a short break. On the other side, news and updates will continue.